Oh, thank you. Yeah. So my name is Holding. I'm a assistant professor at the University of Toronto in the Department of Astronomy and Astrophysics. I do a lot of work studying different kinds of stars and exoplanets, and never actually thought about how flat earthers deal with stars. So I'm kind of curious to learn something about that tonight.
Well, I'm sure we'll cover a bit of their silliness. I got some audience questions here. We've got effed up world, who is our token flat earther. None others have shown up here that I've seen. He says, now I asked him. He asked a question. I asked him to rephrase, so I'll ask both versions of it. He says, ask the good doctor what he thinks about inferences opposing observations. And then stationary Earth is his observation. And then I asked to clarify. He said, we observe still ground everywhere where people have ever been on Earth. Any kind of rotation or motion is an inference, but it opposes the observation.
I think that's an interesting point. And so I always have trouble with this because I kind of agree. Things do look like they're kind of not moving or pretty still, and everything's moving around us. But that's a relative issue. You know, yeah, Einstein kind of noted this very much too. Like I can't, if he's in an elevator falling at the acceleration of gravity, he's not going to be able to tell the difference between that and being on a planet.
Yeah.
I think what it's not an inference, it's that we're talking about here. It's a relative issue. Relative to us, everything appears stationary, but that doesn't mean everything is stationary. It just means we're moving with it.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to thank MCToon for asking the question to Dr. Neilson. And I think he kind of missed what the point of my question was, because he ended it by making an inference. The question was, what do you think about inferences that oppose observations? And he said it's a relative issue. Relative to us on the Earth, everything appears to be stationary. And that's true. But what I would point out is that everything that you ever perceive is relative to you, because you're perceiving it from your body where you are. There's a difference between saying that we spin with the Earth. That's called an inference because there's no observation that matches that. So I see a problem with everyone making an agreeable observation that no one would disagree on, if they're honest, that we perceive and experience a stationary ground beneath us. The inference wants to turn that upside down. So the inference, and this is where I see this is not science, because we make an observation. Everyone does. And the inference is that we're moving when we're observing ourselves not moving on the Earth. But the inference is that we are moving with the Earth, and it just appears that we're not moving. Do you get it? They're two opposite things. One's not moving and one is moving. So the observation is that we're not moving. The inference that I think is incorrect is that we're moving with the Earth, because there's no sign of the Earth moving. So that is interesting. But I would also say that I think Dr. Hilding Neilson is an honest guy, and I'll tell you why. Someone asked him a question, and he answered. He started talking about stars a little bit. And it's funny that on MCToon's channel, people in the chat just ridicule you if you're a flat earther and pretend that you don't know anything about stars, or that you haven't spent a lot of time filming the stars, and they just discredit you. What's interesting is that a lot of the flat earthers say exactly what you're about to hear Dr. Hilding Neilson say right now.
Up on the shelf there. All right, Mute Donkey asks, what's your favorite type of space object?
Well, I tend to like stars because I think every star is a little bit different. They're very much like people. They have all kinds of weird weird little physical phenomenon, whether it's stars that pulse, stars that just blow off wind, stars that explode, stars that undergo astroseismology, which is space, starquakes basically. And there's all kinds of things going on in stars that's just really cool. And
MCToon, I know you think that flat Earth is silly, but I hope that you'll come around pretty soon. We don't have a group of people in the world that just became dumb or that just became liars. You gotta lie to flurf. That's what Toon says. Well, I always have a problem with that because I'm not lying about anything. I don't need to lie about anything. And if we were actually going to talk about this subject of stationary Earth, who's lying? Someone's telling me that the Earth's rotating, and it's not. You live on it, and it's not. Just like Dr. Neilson said. Relative to us, on the Earth, it appears to be completely stationary, and the stars seem to be going around us. Welcome to Flat Earth.
If you look carefully, you will see that the Earth we live on is not what we were taught. We were raised on a globe in a solar system. None of that exists. There is the sun, the moon, and the stars, and the planets. They actually are flying over the Earth in a circle, just like the Bible says. We surely have inherited lies in this generation. The hardest test you may have in your life is to overcome this lie we were all raised on. We were all taught the opposite of the observable reality we live in. The sky rotates while the Earth is stationary. Why were we taught the opposite? But if you want to know the truth, you can find it.